Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Deanna Durgon.
And I'm Renee Dallas, and this is Around Town. Today we've got a great show lined up for you. We'll be talking with blogger Kelly Morgan of I Heart Old Town Orange. She's got a great blog, and you're going to want to read it.
And then later in the show, I'm going to be talking to Mary Platt, who's the Director of Public Relations at Chapman University. And by the way, did you know Chapman University is the #1 private university in Orange County?
I'm not surprised. It's a great place. It's been around for years, and lots of good things are happening there.
President, that's just really doing really great things there at that university, and the growth is just
Great reputation all over the world, really.
And then later on, we will be finding out from Mary what future events Chapman is planning. They have a 5K race coming. There's 150th anniversary. So we're going to find out from her how the community can get involved.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Lastly, we're going to be featuring an Around Town guest commentary segment where you will get to hear the juice from a mover and shaker right here in Orange. So stay with us. We've got a great show planned for you. Welcome back. Our first guest is Kelly Morgan, social media expert and blogger. She was just awarded Favorite Local Blog by JustSpotted.com for 2010. Her blog is called I Heart Old Town Orange, and we have been looking forward to having her on the show. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So glad to have you here. You have developed quite a following.
Yep.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I think I know why that is, and I think that it's because I started something in a place that is really a common interest. There's a lot of people like me who love Old Town Orange, and I mean, in a nutshell, that's why, It's just a common interest. When nobody was doing anything for Old Town Orange, and I decided to start this up because of that, and to see if it would take off. And it did. I mean, I started on Facebook, and I started having a lot of people follow the page, by the hundreds I'm talking, really fast, and it turned into thousands really fast. And I knew that it was because there was no place like that to go online for our community, and that's why I started it, to see, and I think that's why people like it.
Right, and it probably says a lot about Old Town Orange. There's sort of this inherent interest in Old Town Orange and the things that it has to offer.
Right.
Old Town feel, sort of a remembrance of yesteryear, some sort of traditional heritage that we sort of are missing these days.
There's a very strong community.
And a very strong community, too. That's right. So now you've got a background in advertising and social media marketing.
I do.
So you apparently brought all of that experience to bear in the blog.
I did. That was part of the reason that I started it. I have been experimenting a lot in social media with my day job, and just trying to understand what makes a good online community. And I have tested it in a couple of different ways. I think to myself when I'm lying in bed at night, how could I apply social media to something I really love? Now, I can say that I love social media. Love it. I think that it's so much fun and has so much potential. And I do it for my clients, and in an effort for me to learn more and how I could make those communities better online, I wanted to apply it to something I could really engage myself in. What do I really love? And I just thought, I really love Old Town Orange. I don't live in Old Town. I live just like, I call it right across the border. But my husband and my family and I, we spent a lot of time in Old Town Orange, and I thought, you know what, I could talk about Old Town all day long. So I did some research online to see if anyone was doing any marketing for Old Town, and I found nothing, zero, nobody's doing anything. And I was pretty shocked, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try it. And literally the next day, I just started up the Facebook page, and I let it go, see what would happen.
Well, you really tapped into a community. I think with social media, the reason it works is, I guess, if it's going to work most effectively, there should be a vital community in real face time. That's what I call it, real face.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, instead of Facebook. So you tap into the real community that's already vibrant, involved with one another, and then the social media just sort of is a sort of a no-brainer. It just starts working. And you really did tap into something, I think, that everybody really loves. So I think being named Best Blog, this has just been 1 year? How long have you had the blog?
No, actually, I started Facebook in February of this year. And I started the blog after that. I started the blog in April or May. It's only been 5 or 6 months that I've been blogging. And so, yeah, I only started the blog because I wanted to see if the Facebook would take off, if I could build the following. And because I did, I thought, okay, I'm going to go for the blog and see what happens. And that was about making a lot of relationships in the community. And I think that's why it comes across the way that it does, because I'm an authentic person. I do spend a lot of FaceTime, as you say, with the people in the community, and I think that's hugely important to the success of what I'm doing, because that comes across. And you know, I'm just a real person, and I feel like I give my honest opinions and reactions to things, and I also help the community along, and it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
It sure is. Now, how do you think that Old Town has become more relevant to a younger demographic?
Well, this is kind of like a big question. I think that it's become more relevant for obvious reasons, and that's because of the turnover of the businesses that are in Old Town Orange. There is a lot of talk out there about why that's happening, but coming from, I guess, the background that I come from, I believe that the market has demanded that. So the people that are turning over, that live in Old Town and the surrounding areas, are becoming younger and having families, and the demographic is saying, well, I want these things in my town. I want this kind of restaurant. I want this kind of shop. I want to be able to buy clothes, not just antiques. I think that the antique side and the historical side of Old Town is what makes us great. I mean, we have to have that side to be who we are, to be so special and unique. But what's turning over is based on, you know, the demand of the people that are living here, and that's what's making it more relevant. You know, it's not really that someone said, we're changing all the restaurants and see what happens. It's the people living here spending the money in these businesses and attracting more of them to come.
Right. I think that's the value of it. There is a value in the tradition, but the key is always in valuing tradition, in framing it in a newer point of view. So the people who come along who have or who are younger, who have a newer point of view and still value tradition can actually utilize it and appreciate it. I think some of us, I don't know if I'm an old timer or not, but you know, as we get older.
I don't think so.
Thank you so much. Anyway, but you know, as we do get older, then we sometimes get set in our ways, and we love our traditions, which are valuable, but we forget that younger people can't always see the value unless we frame it in something new with newer eyes, you know, as such. So I think that's where you have really come along and done that. And I think that's why it's stayed relevant. And, you know, we love Old Town so much, we want it to be relevant for years and years to come. So the framing of it in a way that new eyes can look at it, still value the traditional and still have something new and fresh about it is really key. And, you know, it encourages the businesses and the commerce and everything that we want to keep it vital and operating. So, bravo, great job.
Thank you.
So who do you think the typical person is that follows your blog as we're talking about keeping things relevant?
You know, it's funny. I actually don't think that there is a typical person. You know, probably the only common thing that the people share is that they use the internet. The demographics I actually brought, because I think that it's a little bit interesting on who's following my Facebook, which is something that I can track. And 75% are women, which doesn't surprise me at all. But for the longest time, what really surprised me is that my #1 follower came from Irvine. Irvine always was beating Orange by just like a smidge as far as where the people were living. And now, just recently, probably in the last couple of weeks, Orange has taken over. But Irvine, people are coming from Irvine, followed by LA. I have a huge amount of people following me from LA. And then it sort of breaks down into smaller chunks in different cities in the area and out of the area. 25%, so my biggest follower is age 25 to 34, which makes good sense, right?
Right.
We've got the Gen Xer in there.
Right.
20%, 35 to 44. So now we're getting into sort of the late Gen X, maybe a little baby boomer. 20% from 18 to 24, so that's total Gen Y. And then 15%, which is a lot of people when I've got, 5,600 people following me, is age 45 to 54. So that's a boomer demographic. It's growing. And then 9%, and some of the most active people on my site are 55 plus. So it's across the board.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is refreshing to know that it's just not one demographic, that it's got a wide appeal. So I think that shows that Old Town Orange has got promise for a long time to come, because if you look at the demographic and the wide range of people interested in coming here and what you have to say about it, the different businesses and vendors that operate here. So I just enjoy your blog, and I know everybody else will love it. We're going to hear from Kelly a little bit later on in the show. She's going to give us a guest commentary segment. So stay with us. We'll be right back.